with us, Patricia?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Can you see me, guys?
Mr. Pacina.
Yes.
All right.
Good morning.
This is
Can you hear
State of
me?
Texas. Yes, sir. I hear you. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Thank you, sorry.
This is State of Texas versus Rogelio Pacina. You were charged with DWI with a blood alcohol content of 0.15. I understand that there has been an agreement reached on a plea. Ms. Ayon, is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
All right. And I do understand that the state will be making a motion shortly to waive the enhancement and proceed on DWI first, commonly also referred to misdemeanor B. So, Mr. Pacina, would you please raise your right hand?
Yes, sir.
You solemnly swear that in this proceeding, the information and responses you submit will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You may put your hand down. Mr. Pacina, during this proceeding, we're going to talk about constitutional rights and protections. I'm going to talk about them with you, and they will be probably multiple times referred to in writing. It is important that we discuss them with you. The first one I want to discuss with you is the right to remain silent. That means you do not have to make any kind of particular statement. You do not have to answer questions. You don't have to submit paperwork, especially any papers wherein you would admit or confess to wrongdoing. Do you understand you have that constitutional right and protection?
Yes, sir.
In proceeding in today's plea, you are going to give up that right. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right, and you're willing to do so freely and voluntarily.
Yes, sir.
Right. In addition, the law says that every proceeding in criminal courts in particular is supposed to be in public. There are generally two ways that that is done. One is by appearance in a public courtroom. Today, and almost a year now, we have not been having public hearings in the courtroom because of the COVID emergency. Now, we are doing these hearings or proceedings by video conference. You have the right to demand that this be done in public, and so does the state. I believe you have reviewed with your attorney all the documents involved in this case, and one of them is where you agree or you consent to conduct this hearing by video conference. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Right. And you have signed that paper?
Yeah, I believe I have, sir. I agree to the video.
All right. Now, I will tell you that this is placed on YouTube because there is a public interest in these matters being in public. YouTube, anyone in the world can tune in on YouTube. They can see us as participants here and see any kind of materials or documents that are involved. The first document I'm showing you, first of all, I will note for you, or note to you, that the top of the document, with one exception, all of them will start off as you see here, cause number 645186, the state of Texas versus Rogelio Pacina, in County Court at Law Number 5, Bexar County, Texas. Then the title of this document in particular is State's Consent to Video Conference. This particular document, it is signed by Andrew Harris Ailman, the Assistant District Attorney, wherein he, on behalf of the state, consents to participating in this hearing on video conference as opposed to the demand to be in the public courtroom. Now, before we go further, this document is discovery acknowledged, but I'm going to discuss a couple of other things that are very important and vital. You have a right to a jury trial, but you're going to enter a plea and you're giving up the right to a jury trial. Is that true?
Yes, sir.
You understand that with that jury trial goes the right to confront witnesses. If you had a trial, jury or non-jury, you would have the right to cross-examine, challenge any witness who would testify, but you're giving that up by entering this plea. Do you understand that?
I understand, sir.
There's also a right to appeal. The right to appeal is basically done by you or your attorney or the two of you together, demanding that a higher court review this particular hearing and the evidence involved. Now, when you enter a plea bargain like this, you give up that right of appeal. Did you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right. I will remind you that there'll be perhaps 2 or 3 other times that I will discuss this with you on the written documents. Is that understood?
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, this particular document that we're looking at right now is again introduced by the information at the top, court number, case number, your name. The document title is Discovery Acknowledgement. We have a law in Texas referred to as Article 39.14 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. That particular law, the state requires that the district attorney's office, the prosecution, share with you any documents, receipts, items of evidence or information that is, first of all, required by the state, and also that is to allow you and your attorney to make a informed decision. Do you understand what we're talking about?
Yes, sir.
This has been signed by Mr. Edelman and by Ms. Ione, your attorney, and I have also signed this document. Excuse me. Next document is your consent to video conference. That's the one you yourself have agreed to. This is again in writing. It is signed by you and your attorney. Is that correct? You understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right. The following document is again introductory information. This one is titled Defendant's Waiver of Constitutional Rights and Court's Admonitions. It starts off with 3 sentences wherein you declare that you are, number one, you have a right to have me read to you word for word the charging instruments, big words for saying the papers that accused you of this offense. The first sentence you say, hey, I don't need you to read them to me. I know what's going on.
Myself? I'm sorry. Are you still there, Your Honor?
With a
I
blood
kind of had a
alcohol.
I kind of had a bad connection right there.
Okay, it says.
Can you say it one more time, Sir, Your Honor?
Yes, sir. All right. It says this document is titled Defendant's Waiver of Constitutional Rights and Court's Admonitions. It starts off with 3 separate sentences. The first one, you're saying, I don't need you to read to me the charging instruments or the words on there. What that is the papers that accuse me officially of committing an offense. The second one says, I understand what the charge is. DWI with blood alcohol content 0.15 or higher. It's also commonly known as extreme intoxication. The third sentence, you declare, I hereby enter a plea of nolo contendere to the charge of DWI first. So that presumes that there's going to be a motion, and we will handle that in a little bit, wherein the state says we're going to waive the enhancement of extreme intoxication or 0.15 or higher. The following portions of this particular instrument or paper document, they're divided into 15 basic divisions or separations. The very first one, and they're all numbered, by the way. Number 1 talks to you about how you can be punished, the extent of punishment. There's a stack of little boxes stacked up vertically, and next to each box, there's a declaration or a statement saying, referring to a particular offense or a level of offense. The very first box is DWI first, which is what you're going to be pleading to. The punishment can be a fine from $0 to $2,000 and jail 72 hours to 180 days in jail. Did you see and understand that?
Yes.
Number 2 is, now, for the record, you have reviewed this document carefully with your attorney. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. Do you have any questions about any of it?
No, Your Honor.
All right. I do point out to you, number 2, it talks about the critical rights that we were talking about earlier. You have a right to a jury trial, a right to cross-examine witnesses, and a right to remain silent. It says, I freely, voluntarily waive, that is, give up those rights. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever had any mental health issues or problems?
No, no, Your Honor.
Have you ever taken mental health medication?
No, sir.
All right. Number 4 talks about nolo contendere. It says you're pleading nolo contendere because you believe, after reviewing the evidence and talking with your attorney, getting her advice, you believe it is in your best interest to plead nolo contendere. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Number 5, have you ever been involved with the sex offender registration program?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Now, number 6 talks about the fact that you're making a deal with the state. This number 6 makes you aware that I am, as the judge, I have the authority and responsibility to say, to approve or reject your deal. I can reject it if I choose. And also I can give you a punishment within the range that we talked about, DWI first, but I can give you a punishment greater than what you agreed to, so long as it's in the range. If I reject your deal, or if I give you a punishment greater than what you agreed to, the law would allow you to withdraw your plea, and no statement that you made or any documents that you signed would be used against you. Is that clear?
Yes.
All right. Number 7 talks about basically the same thing. If I give you a punishment greater than you agreed to, there would be some particular rights involved, and you're there. You've read that and agreed to it, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Number 8, where were you born, sir?
I was born in Eagle Pass, Texas, sir.
All right. Then I find for the record that you are a U.S. citizen.
Yes, sir.
Number 9 does not apply to you. Number 10. Number 11, is the gentleman going to get, well, you're not getting deferred. Is that correct, Mr. Edelman?
That's correct, sir.
All right. Now, the last document, or rather the last portion I want you to see is number 15. When you enter a plea, you have a right, before you're punished or given a punishment, you have the right to demand a risk and needs assessment. My understanding from looking at this document that you and your attorney have reviewed and signed is that you're giving up that right. Is that correct?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I am signing this document in approval. Excuse me. This next document, again with the introduction, this one has a stack of vertical boxes. Next to each box is a declaration concerning your right of appeal. I briefly talked to you about that a while ago, but this one says that I am declaring to you that this is a plea bargain case and you have no right of appeal. Is that understood? Do you have any questions?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Excuse me. This document before you now is an application for judge-ordered community supervision probation. Did you review this closely with Ms. Ayon, your attorney?
Yes.
Did you understand it?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you see and understand what you are declaring and committing yourself to by signing that document?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. It is signed by your attorney also. So this next document is in this group of documents, is the only one that doesn't have that introductory information on it, because this is what's called a personal data sheet. Did you fill this out?
That is my information, Your Honor.
And it is truthful.
Yes, that is my address and my phone number and my email.
All right. Now it says you're self-employed. Tell me how you are self-employed.
I'm a welder, sir. I fabricate steel for a living.
All right. And you are married?
Yes, with 3 kids.
All right. How old are they?
Um, Let me think about for a second. 14, 11, and 9.
All right. And you have an automobile? Back up, Patty.
Yes.
You have a GMC pickup or Envoy?
Yeah,
Is what
it's
it
a
is.
SUV.
SUV? Okay. And you have dependents, you have 4, you're including your wife as a 4th one?
Yes, she's a housewife.
Okay. Probably works harder than you.
That's what she says, but that's still up in the fence right there.
All right. Uh, the plea agreement is that's a document that's coming right up. All right. This is a plea agreement. This document has an introduction. It's a little bit different from the others, but it still says State of Texas versus Rogelio Peña, case number 645-186. There's 2 boxes that are checked off there. The first one talks about the fact that we talked about your constitutional rights and protections, and we've got check marked that you are a U.S. citizen.
Yes, sir.
The next section of this document says defendant's acknowledgments. It's got 5 stacked vertical boxes next to each one. Again, a discussion about rights and admonitions, and that we've had a discussion with you. Each one is checked off. Is that true and correct? What is checked off there?
Yes, sir.
All right. The next section is DWI specific allegations. All right. Here, Mr. Edelman, you have a motion.
Yes, the state moves to waive the extreme intoxication enhancement and proceed with DWI first.
Defense, any objection?
No objections, Your Honor.
Then the motion is granted. You'll need to check that off, Patty. You didn't have a check mark saying the motion is granted at the bottom of that section. So, Mr. Pesina, your plea officially is, tell me what it is.
No lo contenderé.
Very good. A nolo contendere plea in English is no contest. Just so you know and understand, that is taken by this court as a guilty plea. And it is sufficient for me to convict you. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Based on the plea and the evidence, I find you guilty. You're sentenced to 6 months Bexar County Jail, probated for a term of 12 months. You'll pay a fine of $500. At least a fine is assessed of $500. But if you live up to 100% of the conditions of supervision, you will be forgiven, or that $500 fine will be suspended. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Scroll, please. As part of this punishment, you will participate, you will enroll in good faith and complete the DWI education program, DWI Victim Impact Panel. You will submit to what's called a TAP evaluation, and you will follow the recommendations. You will have 6 months of ignition interlock, the ignition interlock device, to monitor and make sure that you don't do any drinking during the entire 12 months. You're not allowed to have any alcohol. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Pesina, on a monthly or yearly basis, what are you earning, sir? Total income.
Approximately 80,000 a year, sir.
Okay. Based on your obvious ability to make income, the court assesses a $60 a month supervisory fee. Now, Ms. Ayón, you were obviously hired, right?
No,
You
I've
were
been
appointed?
appointed.
Pardon me?
Yes. Appointed.
All right. That means that you have been found to be indigent by according to the court standards. Patricia, do we have any particular, well, let me back up. Mr. Pesina, at the time that you were arrested on this DWI, originally DWI extreme intox case, were you employed as you are right now?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any particular expenses that are unusual?
Buying material, and sometimes I use I use guys to help me out, so I have to pay them. If I have like a big fence or a bigger size structure, I have to get guys to help me out, and I have to pay them. So, and that's more
So
like a revenue type kind of money, not really profit.
Okay, so 80,000, when we talk about 80,000 a year, that is your gross income and does not include your expenses of your
Yeah, no, so
work.
that's just what moves around every year.
Right. Tell me what you believe is your net monthly income.
About 3,000, sir.
Okay. All right. Based on your previous recognition as indigent for purposes of this court, and the fact that you have 3 children and a wife, of course, in your own expenses, the court will find that you are indigent. And that is for the purposes that I find that the state's $3,000 fine, the additional fine upon conviction, will not apply to you. So I want you to know that the state now, upon conviction of any DWI offense, at least the first offense, the state adds, they used to call it a surcharge, and now they've changed it and call it something of a special fine or whatever. All right, but since you're indigent, it should not be imposed. That's my finding. Any questions, Mr. Edelman? Oh, Mr. Pesina, you within 1 week, I need you to go by the court offices. You know where my court is on the 4th floor?
I'll find it, Your Honor.
All right, 4th
I can
court.
provide that.
Pardon me?
I can provide the address if you
Okay.
need it, Mr. Pesina.
It's what we call the Justice Center, sir. You need to go to County Court Law number 5. The hallways behind the court will lead to the offices, and there you will need to visit with the clerks and the bailiff, and you have to have your thumbprint placed on documents that are involved in this matter. Is that understood?
Yes, Your Honor.
You have to do that within 1 week. Now, you have 3 children. The worst thing that could happen to you in your life is that you're driving, you've been drinking, you have an accident, and you kill your own kids. That's the worst thing that could happen to you. The second worst is that you're driving, been drinking, and you kill innocent people. Okay? Now,
Understood.
that's why we have this law.
Understood.
Because it can happen, and it does happen way too frequently. So that's a bit of a reminder to you. That is always something that can happen if you engage in drinking and driving. All right. So I wish you well. Carry out what we are requiring of you. Do 100% of the conditions, and we're through. We'll never see you again in this court.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So you and your attorney, your family and friends, be blessed, be well, and be safe, all right?
Same to you, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right.
Miss
thank you.
Ayon, can I call you after this meeting?
Yes, I'll talk to you a little bit later this afternoon if that's
All
okay.
right. Ms.
Okay.
Luna?
I'm sorry, Your Honor. I just need to let him know that probation will be calling him. I have all his information. I got it from the data sheet. So, Mr. Pacina, probation will be calling you between 24, 48 hours. They'll probably do a Zoom intake through Zoom like this,
Okay.
and then they'll go over the rest of the conditions with you and get your officer as well.
Okay, Ms. Luna. Thank you.
You're welcome.